So will the Western world collapse before it rises again? Now you might be saying, hey, we're already risen to the top. Where can we go? Well, from my perspective, we're in such a weird, chaotic state. Trump's slogan is "Make America Great Again," right? Like we're not great right now, and a lot of people might argue with that, saying, "Hey, we are great." I don't think we are. Just from a societal standpoint of the institutions, we don't have the trust in institutions, whether that be our education system, universities, public schooling, healthcare. I've talked about healthcare and the pharmaceutical industries, big pharma, big food companies destroying the soil, completely just focusing on profits, not on nutrition at all. I mean, there's so many areas. I could go on and on with all of the problems that we have, that we've taken our values and taken that away, where our value is making money and power. Those are our values in this country. And that's not, for me, that's not a basis that you can have a society on, a community on. So when I say rising again, is it going to be like I asked my grandma, right? I asked my grandma, what was the world like? What was your world like in the United States after World War II? Didn't lead her into this, didn't say, hey, wasn't it great? I said, what was it like? She said, one word, perfect. Perfect. She's like, the community was there. People cared for one another. The government had this relationship with the people. All right. There was, the police didn't, overdo their power. Obviously, you're going to have bad people. Obviously, you're going to have bad pockets. You're going to have all those types of things, corrupt politicians. But she was saying on the whole, it was perfect. It was great. And I don't think we're ever going to get back to a perfect world, but what I mean by our society having values of integrity, honesty, truth, of family, of honor, of respect, of these things that really are the basis for a society and a community. I don't see those in the world that we live in today. I see it's beneficial to be narcissistic. It's beneficial to be greedy. Greed is good, Gordon Gekko. It's beneficial to take advantage of other people. It's beneficial to do anything for money, because if you're successful and you have money, you're successful. It doesn't matter how you got there. You see this with OnlyFans and with corporations that, completely take advantage of, small communities, and pharmaceutical industries that hike up prices just for the sake of profit, because they know they can, because people are on these medications that they can't get off of or else they're going to die. And people look at that and they're like, oh, well, they're successful. Hey, yeah, you got to crack a few eggs if you want to make an omelet. I go, no, right? Yeah, of course, there's always going to be issues, but we have the ability to do things in a better way. The reason why I wanted to talk about this was I'm going to link to his channel. Chicho had a video and he kind of got me pessimistic again. And it's rightfully so, right? I thought maybe we've turned the corner. Maybe the pandemic was the worst of it, the worst of our chaos. But if you really look at, I've been reading some articles now that Trump's gotten into office, and I see what people are saying about him. I'm like, people are still divided. As much as the nation went toward Trump, we're still have this chaos within so many areas. And the way our thinking is and our value system. And I don't know how you get back to that unless if you have more lessons to be learned through more crisis. And I thought that was the pandemic. I thought that people losing their mind, going to stores and seeing people step on each other's throats to get some toilet paper. I thought well, we can't get any worse than this, at least on our own soil. Things could get worse. Things could get worse for the people that need to learn. I think a lot of people learned their lesson. Don't trust, don't put your trust in other men. We have to have systems that promote integrity and honesty. We have to, stand up for what's right. You saw a lot of people who are standing up for, my body, my choice. They were saying, hey, it's my choice to get the jab. I'm not going to follow along just because someone told me that I have to do this. I get to make my own decision, especially when there's not research and development on this thing. It's this new thing. I'm not going to take a risk just because you told me to. People started standing up for the truth, or just at least standing up for, hey, an option. And I think now people are going to be more rewarded for standing up for the truth. But there's still the society that we live in, which is rewarded with money and power. That's what we value at the top. So I don't know what's going to have to happen for people on a more mass scale to really learn. I know that for myself, I learn when bad things happen. When terrible things happen, when I screw up, when it's revealed to me that I've been screwing my own life up, I have to change. It's not these other people that I was pointing the finger at. It was me the whole time. That's when I can change. But if I still have scapegoats, if I still have, like for people, oh, it's just going to be Trump's fault. If we don't have reasons that point the finger back to us to say, hey, we created all of this, I don't know how you change. And Chicho was talking about it. It could go World War III. It could get even worse for our trust in these institutions. I thought it was bad enough. I thought the chaos of the pandemic was enough is enough. We have to change. And you kind of saw that with the turning of the tide towards Trump. But I don't know if it was enough for us to, like I said, make America great again or rise again. I don't know, because the way the society is still run, I don't know if there's anything Trump can do about it. Because, like I said, if he creates good times and he just ushers us into maybe a little bit better than we were, I don't know if that's when you learn. Like I said, for myself, I learn when things crash and burn. And so maybe we're better equipped to handle a crash and burn now that we have a little bit more semblance of integrity. And people are going to say, Trump's got integrity, you're crazy, right? Exactly. It's like, it's up to the eye of the beholder. And I feel like that's where we're suffering as a nation. We don't have common ground for anything. And that to me is dangerous, where if crisis happens, it's every man for himself. I almost think that might be our destiny in some sense. It's like this was the wild, wild west before we really settled here. It was cowboys and Indians, and it was nuts. And it's this big, vast land where there's mountains and beaches and deserts and everything in between. We have so much here at this. I feel like maybe that's just what we're meant to be. Maybe things change drastically where it's more like a city state, where the United States is not united anymore. You've got some states that are part of a nation and other states are part of something else. Maybe it's a civil war where things get split. You're already seeing this with policy. Some, states are going to have completely different policies than the other. People are going to move. You saw a mass exodus in California where I live. You're going to see even more of that because of these fires. People are going to start looking at things and going, this wasn't just this one accident that happened. This was years in the making of policy from government officials, from corporations, the communication or lack of communication between the two. I just, maybe that's what we're in for. Maybe we're in for a splitting up of the United States, and it's going to be a completely different nation the way that it looks, or nations the way that they might look. But I don't know if it got bad enough for some people. I know it got bad enough for me. I've talked about my drug addiction and I've talked about my alcohol addiction. And I know that, for me going through certain things, it got bad enough for me to change. Things were, I always thought about pharmaceutical industry, the food companies, the education system. I already knew a lot of that stuff was happening, but it was like the last straw with the pandemic. I lost all faith in all of that. And I say to myself, let's burn it down. Let's build it back up. But for other people, for that to be the census, the status, for that to be the overarching sentiment for people that, hey, we are doing it so wrong that there's nothing we can do that's going to change it the way that it is. We have to completely flip things over. I don't know if enough people have seen the light, so to speak, that we're running east looking for a sunset. If you didn't know, sunsets set on the west. And if you keep running east, no matter how much you work, how hard you work, you're only going to get further away from your goal. And I kind of feel like that might be where we're at. Like I said, Trump could put things into place and we could be getting progress, but we're actually getting further and further away from where we really need to be, which is back to some of these values. Now, he talks about these things in the right way, talks about getting back to integrity and honesty and things like that. I just don't know if it's possible with what we have set up right now. Maybe it does have to burn to the ground first, like we've seen, all right? It's something that I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy for something to happen like that, like happened in these LA fires. But how else are people going to learn that their government didn't have their best interests at heart? For some of these people that were bought it hook, line, and sinker, that thought these people were really doing the things that they thought were important, their house is burnt to the ground now from policies, things that could have changed. The insurance companies that pulled their insurance knew that this was going to happen. That's why they pulled their insurance. They're like, we can't afford to give back. We can afford to help people out. We don't want to. That's part of our business plan. We want to take money in and not give it back. But at the same time, if even, with these $1 million homes, all these different things, we can't do it. We can't hold up our business if something like this happens. And I think it was mismanaged for years at a time. And if the people who voted for that ended up creating this own problem, unless if they start looking at themselves and say, we have to change what we emphasize, what we focus on. Like I said, our value system can't just be about money and power. It has to be about something else: integrity, honor, respect. If we start bringing that into society, that's how we're going to change and have a community and have a society. The way that we're at now, it can't function. And I don't know what else has to happen for people to learn. I know that some people learned a huge lesson in these fires. You wouldn't wish it on your worst enemy. Why does it have to get that bad for things to change? I don't know, but that's just how it worked in my life. I know that bad things have to happen for me to change. Is it going to get worse? I don't know. I hope it doesn't. I hope that people can use things like I've seen the pandemic, use things like these fires and the mismanagement and the government and all these different things for them to learn, but I don't know if that's enough for some people. I've seen it. I've read some articles recently, and people are just as lost as they were before. So I don't know what's going to have to happen for us to change and actually get back to values, a value system that can be a foundation for a society and a community. I don't know, but it just doesn't feel like there's anything we can do right now in a positive way that's going to change it with the way that our mindset is. So Chicho, thanks for making me pessimistic again. I mean, I thought for a second there we were rounding the corner, and then now I start taking a step back and I'm like, for me, it's a day by day thing. It's a day by day. I kind of go back and forth between these ideas, but I feel like we're probably in store for more chaos, and maybe this is our level of chaos. It's just kind of chaotic as we go throughout. So I don't know, but it's not looking great in regard to us rising again. I feel like there's still some cracks that could split open and we could fall through and get even lower, get even deeper before we end up, rising back again. If we ever even rise again, that's another thing. Maybe this is our destiny. Maybe we're meant to be the wild, wild west and be chaotic. Who knows? But what do you think? All right, I've said enough. I'm going to end it on that. But what do you think? Love to hear your comments on this in the comments section. Again, thanks again for Chicho. Shout out to Chicho. He's got some good stuff over on his channel. Check him out. Take care.